We left the last video with Einstein and Schrodinger both rejecting the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics because they objected to the idea that the universe is governed by random chance rather than definite laws. And Erwin Schrödinger came up with a thought experiment, which we now know as Schrödinger's cat, to try to illustrate the nonsensical nature of the Copenhagen interpretation. The claim here is that if you follow logically the consequence of the Copenhagen interpretation, it leads to obviously nonsensical results on the human scale, and therefore the idea itself must be nonsense. So to carry out Schrödinger's cat experiment, we obviously need to start with a cat. Now, please let me be clear, this is and always was a thought experiment, so no real cats were harmed in the making of this thought experiment. But what Schrödinger suggested is you take a cat and you put the cat inside a box. And with the cat, you put a bottle of poison and you put a single radioactive particle. Now, radioactive particle can decay into another particle. Whether it does or not, according to the Copenhagen interpretation, is a matter of random chance. And we're using a single particle in the thought experiment to eliminate the complexities of those statistical probabilities. The box is then sealed, and the apparatus is set up in a way that if that single radioactive particle remains and doesn't collapse, then the bottle of poison is left untouched and the cat continues to live. On the other hand, if the radioactive particle happens to decay, then it opens the bottle of poison and the cat then dies. Now, what does this have to do with the Copenhagen interpretation? Because remember that according to the Copenhagen interpretation, both the uncollapsed state of the particle and the collapsed state of the particle are equally real and both exist in this superposition state within the waveform. So the particle, according to the Copenhagen interpretation, is actually both uncollapsed and collapsed. But of course, that means that the bottle is both opened by the collapsed particle and unopened by the non-collapsed particle, which then means that the poison has been both released and not released, and the cat is therefore both alive and dead at the same time. That's the consequence of superpositioning according to Schrödinger. The only thing you can know is what actually happens when the box is opened and you make the observation, then only one of these two realities continues to exist, and the cat will either be alive or dead. But until you open the box, according to the Copenhagen interpretation, or at least Schrödinger's understanding of it, the particle exists as both collapsed and uncollapsed, and therefore the cat must be both alive and dead at the same time. Needless to say, this has led to a lot of humorous jokes. Here is a wanted poster for Schrödinger's cat, wanted dead and alive, last seen before box was closed. Schrödinger's cat walks into a bar and doesn't. I love this one. Meanwhile, inside the box, Schrödinger's cat plans its revenge. And just to be timely and up to date, we all have Schrödinger's virus now. Because we cannot get tested, we can't know whether we have the virus or not. We have to act as if we have the virus so that we don't spread it to others. We have to act as if we've never had the virus, because if we didn't have it, we're not immune. Therefore, we both have and don't have the virus, thus Schrodinger's virus. And finally, just to make sure that you do understand what Schrödinger's cat is all about, here is a famous scientist explaining Schrödinger's thought experiment.
But on the other hand, if things don't go well with Leonard, I risk losing a really good friend. I mean, I'm guessing he's not looking for a fling. He's the kind of guy that gets into a relationship for, I don't know, like you would say light years.
I would not say that. No one would say that. A light year is a unit of distance, not time.
Thank you for the clarification.
Draft. You see, people hear the word year and they think duration. Foot-pound has the same problem. That's a unit of work, not of weight.
Right, thanks.
It's a common mistake.
Not the first one I've made today.
Okay. I think this will be my seat.
Sheldon, do you have anything to say that has anything to do with, you know, what I'm talking about?
Well, let's see. We might consider Schrödinger's cat.
Schrodinger. Is that the woman in 2A?
No, that's Mrs. Grossinger. And she doesn't have a cat. She has a Mexican hairless, annoying little animal. Yip, yip, yip.
Sheldon!
Sorry, you diverted me. Anyway, in 1935, Erwin Schrödinger, in an attempt to explain the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum physics, he proposed an experiment where a cat is placed in a box with a sealed vial of poison that will break open at a random time. Now, since no one knows when or if the poison has been released, until the box is opened, the cat can be thought of as both alive and dead.
I'm sorry, I don't get the point.
Well, of course you don't get it. I haven't made it yet. You have to be psychic to get it, and there's no such thing as psychic.
Sheldon, what's the point?
Just like Schrödinger's cat, your potential relationship with Leonard right now can be thought of as both good and bad. It is only by opening the box that you'll find out which it is.
Okay, so you're saying I should go out with Leonard?
No. Let me start again. In 1935, Erwin Schrödinger